What's happening, y'all? I'm still bullish on crypto, man. And I'm going to tell y'all why. I'm still bullish on crypto. Yeah, it's Thanksgiving or the day before Thanksgiving. And, there's lots of stuff to do. We just closed down the office. We closed down early the day before Thanksgiving. But I just wanted to jump on here and talk about why I'm still bullish on crypto, man. So how y'all doing? It's another day for me. But let's get into this so I can get up out of here and go do what I need to do. So the first things first, man, if you have been in crypto like I actually wanted to do this. I wanted to do this last 2 weeks ago when the crypto market was dumping, but we had who was on here? That was 2 weeks ago. We just had Rome on, so shout out to Rome. Thank you for joining, Rome, for jumping on the pod. We'll be releasing that on YouTube this coming weekend, and some other clips. You'll see some clips rolling around from that. That was a dope one, talking about social media, fatherhood, all those things. And then we're gonna talk about who was on before that, man. I'm tripping. Just a lot going on. But anyway, that's when the market was really dumping. But we had a guest on, and so I wanted to make sure that we gave our guest the full attention that day. So, but how I always look at it, I always look at fear and greed, and basically, let's take a look at that. That fear and greed, man, it's the lowest it's been since I have another chart too we can look at. But if you followed us, that I'm always going to say you buy when there's fear. When there's max fear. And also, by the way, none of this is financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. Do not follow what I'm saying. The disclaimer's down there as well. It should be at least. Do not follow what I'm saying. I'm a degenerate. Everything's going to zero. But I'm just telling you what I'm thinking and what I'm doing. So this is not financial advice at all. So if you take a look at this, though, this is where the last fear and greed was April tariffs when it was this low. And you look at it right after that, so we started climbing back up, and then in the next month, we actually came dipping right back down. I believe, Orange Man said something happened there. And now we're right back there again. But what happened right after that? I mean, we had a fake out here, it looks like. But then what happens right after that is we went right back up to not extreme greed, but greed. So if it were up to me and I was looking at this, I'm still bullish. Now, was I wrong about the fourth quarter, Q4 being bullish? Yes, I was absolutely wrong. And here's why. Look at this. So you can't really fault me for thinking that we were going to have a bullish Q4. But at the same time, we had 4 straight bullish months from April to July. I just showed you that dip and then that run up. So, and then also historically, October was the best month in Bitcoin history, and it's short history, but its history always netted returns in October. And so to see that not materialize told me one thing. It's like, all right, well, if it's going to be red that month, then maybe November should be, somewhat decent. Nope. Orange Man said, nah, we shutting down, bruh. So, that happened right here. So we had the shutdown in October. I think when did we open up? Not too long ago. But we had the government shutdowns. That's a black swan event of sorts, I guess, but it's kind of controllable. All the things are controllable that we've done. The April tariffs have been controllable. That's controlled by a decision of the Orange Man. The government shutdown, when you control all 3 branches of government, that's in your control completely. So, I feel like these are all man-made, so to say. So when I'm looking at December, which sometimes isn't a good month, and the last time we had a red October and a red November is 2018, right here. We had 2018, and that's the last time we've had 3 straight red months in Q4. So I don't know what to tell you there. I mean, we could potentially go up here. We could not. I'm not all the way sure. But what I do know is I'm still bullish. Why? Well, look at this. So when we go to the weekly returns, though, for Bitcoin, and the reason why I look at Bitcoin is because it pretty much the whole market runs off of Bitcoin and how it's feeling. In 2025, so we had 1, 2, 3, 4 straight red weeks before last week. So then we had 1, 2, so we had 2 more. So that would be 4, 5, 6, 7. So 6 of the 7 weeks were red. 8, 9, 10. So then we had 8 of 10 weeks that were red. So when you look at this whole stretch, 37th week to the 46th week, we had I mean, it felt bad. No wonder why it felt terrible. You know, like it was like we were down only for like I don't know, 2 months. So 2 to 3 months. So like there's a reason why people were feeling the way they were feeling. And then we had the biggest liquidation in history on October 10th. And then that just had a cascading effect in terms of sell offs for different positions from institutional investors and all that. Ooh, I was going to bring that up too. I probably won't get to all the things I want to bring up. But, you know, we look at the fear and greed, like there's only one way to go from here. So this is probably one of the easiest trades you could ever make right now. Like everything's on sale. Anything that you cop right now is going to be at a low probably. So really, this is the time to go shopping. Honestly, it's when we were heading down here. I mean, we were at like, what was it, like 3 or 9 or 6 or something like that. It was the lowest actually I've kind of probably seen it. And for what reason? Nothing has changed. The fundamentals of Bitcoin hadn't changed. Nothing had changed. And so then I was just like, well, if that's the case, then I'm a buyer. Like, so I started making moves. I was pivoting some positions and whatnot, you know. And so when I look at something like Bittensor, and the reason why I'll tell you why I look at Bittensor so much, I've already explained it a million times, but you know, you can look at Bittensor here and it hit a bottom and then it just rallied. And so now it's back to consolidating in this area. I think Bittensor is one of the best projects in all of crypto, personally. It's AI. We all know AI. So AI trade is the biggest thing going in stocks. It's pretty much propping up the S&P 500. But like over here in crypto land, the Bittensor is the biggest AI project and it's not getting no love. So I'm like, well, damn. I mean, I don't know. They're building out an AI ecosystem that's basically the mirror of Bitcoin, but just the the Bitcoin of AI. And what I mean by that is it's an ecosystem. And I'm not trying to shill you Bittensor. Do not do your own research, man. Like, this is not financial advice. Do your own research. But I'm just telling you why I like this project so much, because I see that it has the same tokenomics as Bitcoin. It has 21 million total supply. It has its first halving coming up in December. This next month, it has its first halving ever. Bitcoin halves every 4 years. Bittensor will have its first halving. Right now, circulating supply is 10. It has a inflationary, like, what's the schedule? And so of the 21 million tokens that will exist in ever, 10 million of them are in circulating supply. And right now, when the miners are mining this token, they get one whole Bittensor Tau token for settling transactions. That changes in December, then it cuts in half. That's what's called the halving. So now miners will only get a half of Bittensor as it keeps going. So every 4 years it's going to halve, and then after 4 years it's going to halve again. And so when the rewards get smaller and smaller, which means there's less and less in circulation. So the amount of that are coming into circulation every day are going to halve in December. So that circulating supply is going to slow down in terms of how much it emits over time. That's the halving. And that's why Bitcoin after the halving always pumps, because it's more scarce, becomes more scarce in terms of how much is being made every day. So Tau's going to do its first one of that in December. And here's what Tau is. So I'm going to just show you a site. So Tau has a bunch of subnets under it. So this is a subnet directory. So what all of these companies or projects are doing is they're fighting for Tau, the Tau token. And the way that they get rewarded in Tau is by basically creating a business that generates revenue, like a real business. You have everything in here, and they're solving problems just like no different than any other AI company right now. It just happens to be that they're doing it on a decentralized powered network called Bittensor. So you hear all these AI companies, you know, like battling and buying up compute power and buying data centers and buying. What Bittensor is doing is saying, no, we're going to take all the power from the globe, from anyone, you, me, anyone can mine on Bittensor, and take that compute power from the globe, from the users, from people that want to mine for this and create and use their power to earn potentially Tau. And that's the way it is similar to Bitcoin for finance. So it's the same. So Dippy Studio, for example, does, I think, voice, cost efficient. But basically, yeah, you have a decentralized compute power for this, and these are all projects. These are all things that are computing. Shoots is a big one. That's probably the biggest one. It's serverless AI compute. So yeah, if this doesn't make sense, do some more research. But once you get it, you're like, yeah, unless you like being ran by 5 companies, that's cool too. If you like your life being dominated by 5 companies and a new emerging technology, have at it. This one's called Bitmine. This is one that I watched some videos on, and it just can tell you if something's fake or not, if something's AI content verification. And if you wanted to try it out, you can actually go to the website, drop a image in there, and it'll see, or video detection as well. So like these are real actual projects that are happening on the Bittensor network. So when I show you this Bittensor token, it's actually an ecosystem of what they call subnets, or if you call them businesses, if you will, or projects. And they are all like creating something that hopefully can be shipped to the public, and the public uses it. And then all of a sudden, your Tau token is probably going to be worth more, because as it emits and gets less and less and more scarce, you need tokens to run the compute power and to compete for these things and to maybe buy some of these tokens. Yeah, it's a whole thing. So this is Bittensor, basically sports prediction. So they have their own little deal going on there. So I mean, there's just all kinds of different things going on there in the Bittensor world. You know, that's just this is not financial advice. I'm just telling you. So one thing about this narrative, or at least this category, let's look at the numbers by category. So AI and big data, you can see is number 6 here on here, but the market cap for AI and big data is $22 billion. I feel like it's massively undervalued, especially being in the crypto space. So $22 billion, if we go to the top AI projects here, we go into the top AI projects, and we're going to look at the market caps, which is basically how big they are, how many tokens are out there, how big is this project? Like, obviously, Bitcoin being the biggest at $1.8 trillion market cap. Like Ethereum's at 365 billion. Tether, we don't think Tether's just a stable coin. XRP, 134 billion. BNB, 122 billion. Solana, 79 billion. Tron, 26 billion. Dogecoin, 23 billion. So if the whole AI category was going to be in the top 10, it's actually smaller right now. The whole AI category, that means all the projects in the AI category, are smaller than Dogecoin, which is a meme coin. Bro, like, I just feel like that's a big opportunity. Like, we all know what AI is. We all know that it's going to be massive moving forward. And I just don't understand, bro, like how AI and big data, these are all the AI projects, Bittensor being the top one and the number 32 ranked coin. Like Virtual's protocol on Base is a huge AI agents, basically. And they have working products right now that are actually on the Base app. I have the Base app. I don't use them as much because I just need to go in there and play around and pause. But like, it's crazy. So Virtuals has stuff that actually works right now. Render's been one that's been around a while, ICP. So anyway, like I just feel like AI is massively undervalued in the crypto space. That's just my hot take. It really is not a hot take at all, to be honest with you. So let's go back to, that's DCA. Why am I bullish on Bitcoin? Well, I wanted to look at this. Go back here. We had the returns. So you look at Bitcoin, like what happened over the last few weeks, days, all those things. Like September was right here. We hit an all-time high, I believe, in October, early October 25th, something like that. And then we've just been down only from then. And then we had a nice little recovery right here. But what the levels that people were looking at were like in the 80s, you know, because once we broke down under 100, we knew we were going right down to like 80 something. But, you know, like it's just, this is the time, like it's on sale to me, because it all depends on what your time horizon is. My time horizon is forever. Like, so I'm like, well, shit, I know it's finna be $1 million at one point in time. because I've followed this asset long enough and I faded it enough times. I've faded it down here. I sold my Bitcoin somewhere down here. I've been wrecked. I've been all those things. Look at this, down only right there from March 22nd or March 2022 to June 2022. So we just experienced kind of that. Like that was from 45 to 18. We just experienced that in a compressed time frame. We went from 126 down to 80. We lost 40. So like what we just experienced, there's a reason why people were scared. I was like, damn, I'm not going to say I was scared. I'm going to say I was questioning whether we were going to continue this bull market or not in the real time, for sure. Absolutely. I don't think there's one person that could even predict this right here, except for Ben Cowan. He called the top. He thinks that this was the top based on the 4-year cycles. I disagree. Well, actually, no. I agree technically that was the top. I just think that this time might be a little different because we've never had institutions in here before and trillions of dollars and whatnot. And we also never had this backdrop. This was the DCA. I was going to talk about DCAing. The backdrop, let's talk about that real quick. So JP Morgan brings the dollar deposit token to Coinbase's Base network. I talk about Base a lot. I've talked about Base on here. So JP Morgan has launched. This happened on November 12th, actually. You can see here. Here's the date, November 12th. JP Morgan has launched this deposit token. Now, JP Morgan, by the way, Chase, like you all know what that is, right? So that's a big ass bank. Like JP Morgan is gigantic. Has launched its deposit token. So also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this picture for you on why I'm still bullish. And I'm just going to tell you some things that I'm looking at, and I'm just sitting here going, okay, well, even if the market was going into a bear, I'm still going to absolutely dollar cost average. Because this asset, I see where it's going. So JP Morgan Chase has launched its deposit token on Coinbase's Base network, making the bank's first deployment of the native payment product on a public blockchain. So I did some more reading on this, and the way that I understand this is they actually have their own blockchain, JP Morgan does, but they're going to allow you, they're trying to test out some layer 2s that are going to work for them, and Base being probably the best and most safest bet because Coinbase is the biggest American crypto exchange. The banking giant brought JPM coin to institutional clients, allowing transactions via the Ethereum Layer 2 network to complete instantly around the clock. Instead of taking multiple business days, according to a Bloomberg report. The deployment is a major extension of JPM Morgan, so that's major expansion. So expansion is the key word here. For JP Morgan's blockchain operations, which have primarily operated on private permission networks since the bank began experimenting with distributed ledger technology in 2019. So they've been had their own blockchain. JP Morgan has, right? So they've had their own private version of that. And now they just created a deposit token that represents money already held as deposits within the bank, effectively a blockchain-based version of commercial bank money. So, like this is JP. They deployed a token that follows months-long trial period involving MasterCard, Coinbase, and liquidity provider B2C2. So that's the first one. So I'm just sitting here going, wait. So they're working with Coinbase for one. So here's another one. JP Morgan basically says that when Base drops, so Coinbase and Base being their Ethereum Layer 2 network, when Base drops their token, it's a $34 billion potential token. It could boost the Coinbase stock. So the Base token, they've teased that they're going to drop a token for Base, and it's a pivot from when they first started Base a few, like 2 to 3 years ago. And they basically were saying like, we'll never have a token. This is for, we're for builders and creators only and blah, blah, blah. We want to be on the blockchain. I just was like, well, if you're connected to Coinbase, then you're going to be big because you have money behind you. So I've always been bullish on Base. But I didn't think that they would drop a token. And now that they say that they are and they announced that at their Base camp earlier, a Base token could be worth as much as $34 billion out the gate. Let's go back to this chart, shall we? And I've done this before, but I just want to do this again just so y'all can see. Let's go back to the chart. 34 billion. We already know 34 billion is bigger than the whole AI sector in crypto. $34 billion coin for Coinbase would land you right in between 8 and 7 off rip if that were to happen. I don't think it'll come out the gate worth that much, but because they'll, hold some coins back and they'll do some other things. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man, fade at your own peril. But I'm just sitting here looking at all these things. Like you got JP Morgan talking about Coinbase, talking about a token, talking about they will have a stable coin, talking about all these different things. Base is a layer 2 blockchain built by Coinbase. It's 5 billion DeFi ecosystem, blah, blah, blah. So there's that. Okay. I'm still painting this picture for you. JP Morgan's deposit token puts stable coins on notice. Now, the reason why this is a big deal is because the Genius Act passed in the summer. A lot of people weren't paying attention, but the Genius Act allowed banks to issue stable coins. So that happened in the summer. That was a bill that passed, signed off by the president. It's now a thing. JP Morgan's doing it. So on November 12th, so that was just this month. You probably weren't paying attention. A lot of people weren't. I feel like nobody in crypto is talking about this, and they should be. There's a few that are, but I'm just like, I don't know. This is a big deal to me. On November 12th, JP Morgan crossed a line that the rest of the banking sector has been tiptoeing around for years. It put real institutional dollars onto Base, an Ethereum 2 network developed by Coinbase. Do I need to read that again? And they're just testing it out. I'm not saying that they're putting everything on there. I'm just saying this is a first step into something potentially bigger, maybe. The bank dubbed this asset JPM coin, and early transactions with clients like B2C2, like I mentioned in the other article, Coinbase and MasterCard show how quickly funds can now settle. Institutional clients can treat this as bank deposits on their balance sheet, providing certainty around financial and accounting treatment. I'm doing our budget right now for our business, and so this all just kind of makes sense to me because I'm like, oh, okay, so you can put this on your balance sheet, and it acts as an asset on your balance sheet. As of December 31st, 2024, the bank had $4 trillion in total assets and $2.4 trillion in deposits. That's a lot of money to just be wading into, in my opinion. So I'm bullish because of that. So then I talk about well, what should I do? Okay, well, here's what I like to look at. I talk about dollar cost averaging a lot on here. And let's just say that you dollar cost averaged $50 a week on Sunday. And you started last year this time. Let's say you started in 2024 and you started in November, starting today. And this is just everyone's different. It doesn't matter what the amount is for you. It could be $50. It could be $100. It could be $500. I don't know. I don't know how y'all living. But the start date will be, what's today? Today's the day before, whatchamacallit. So things taken. We'll just say the 26th. To today, if you dollar cost averaged $50 weekly Sunday, you would be under, actually. You'd be at $800 and you would have invested $728. Let's go back 1 year. If you did it in November of 2023, you would have invested $34.50 and you'd have $1,710. Okay. Are you following? Let's go back if you started in 2022. Dollar cost averaging. So this is what I've been talking about. And when I say I DCA, this is what I'm talking about. I DCA Bitcoin. I actually did break one rule this last dip. I took some of my DCA Bitcoin money and bought more Tau. Because I'm a degenerate. So, but for the most part, usually all I do is I buy it. I just have the DCA. I don't even pay attention to it. I look over there and be like, oh crap, I got to move that off of there and into my cold storage, into my cold wallet. If you started in 2022 when you were DCAing, even on this downturn, like the biggest liquidation in history, on the heels of that, one of the biggest dips that we've seen in history. This is Mt. Gox. This is FTX collapse. This is all the major things that have happened with Bitcoin to make it drop into a bear market just happened, folks. It just happened. And so we're either going into a bear market or we're not, but I don't really care because I dollar cost average. So if you dollar cost average back from 2022, you would have invested $6,050 and you'd now have $13,000. And that's just on this dip. If it was like back in October, you would have $19,000. And that's just from $50 a week. But you have to be patient. Like if you did this in 2021, I'm going to keep going. It would be 8,000 invested and 21,000. Are you getting the point here? So dollar cost average. When people get into crypto, what I've found is everyone wants like fast money. Everyone wants fast money. And so anytime anyone asks, like, what should I buy? I'm like, well, what are you trying to accomplish? Like, what's your time horizon here? Because yeah, there's fast money to be had, but in this market right now, currently, I don't know if I would be doing that. We've been up only for a while now. The only reason why I'm bullish is because I'm a long-term person. I just believe in this space. I believe that we will have an altcoin season pretty soon. I believe that, another big topic that was going on was the rates and why people were saying that the rates were the reason why everyone was panicking. And I'm like, I mean, if they're going to lower rates in January, what does it matter? Like, I mean, it matters, and all of this is because we haven't had data because again, that's a man-made problem. We withheld the data during the shutdown. And so the Fed was flying blind. They couldn't tell you if they're going to lower rates or not because they usually go off data. So what happened last Friday actually was really interesting. Last Friday, we did a pod. I think we did this pod. No, I was on another pod, I think. The Inside Abode podcast. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to that, subscribe to the Inside Abode podcast. But on one of those podcasts, you'll see that it was like 40% that they're going to cut rates on December 10th. The next FOMC meeting is on December 10th. And they were going to cut rates again and decided that wasn't going to be the move. And so we thought apparently that they weren't going to do that. That same day on that Friday, y'all, like it went from 40 to 70%. I've never seen a jump like that in one day. And the reason being is because someone that was very influential on the FOMC board, like said, I believe that we should cut. And that just changed everything because that's an influential person. And so now all of a sudden, we're pretty much looking at almost a guaranteed rate cut on December 10th. So that's bullish. I mean, it's bullish for sentiment. I don't know what it's going to do, but anyway, here's another thing. I'm giving you all these things. These are all bullish things. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm not bullish as in you're going to get rich tomorrow. I'm saying I'm just talking as a whole, a general whole totality type thing here. I'm looking at all the macro environment things and why you should be interested, at least be curious in what's going on over here because it's happening in real time. All this shit's happening in real time. So this is from CoinGeek. U.S. digital asset market structure bill won't get a vote until 2026. So that was actually supposed to happen in October. That's what we were all hoping for. On November 18th, Senator Tim Scott told Fox Business that he expects both the Senate Banking Committee, which he chairs, he's the chair of that committee, and the Agriculture Committee to hold markup sessions and votes on the respective digital asset structure bills. So that tells me the Senate Banking Committee and the Agriculture Committee are both working on digital asset bills. So they're basically coming together and being like, no, let's just merge this bill so that we can get it signed. That's pretty crazy. That's bullish. So Rubin, another Democrat from Arizona, saying members of both parties have been working tirelessly to reach consensus, adding that taking the time necessary to produce a strong bipartisan product is not the same thing as stalling, and implying that Democrats don't want to get this done isn't productive. He's basically saying, like, look, y'all, stop with the games. I'm a Democrat. Like, we trying to get this done, y'all. Like, we just want it to be fair. We want it to be good. I get that. The banking committee's Dems have lingering concerns regarding GOP authored bills around DeFi. Basically, banks banks have to offer, like DeFi offers rewards, or Coinbase can offer rewards, for example. Like right now, my debit card on Coinbase, I use that because I can get Bitcoin back. And banks are like, well, hold on, how are we going to compete if we can't do that? And I'm sitting there like, well, y'all should be doing that. So imagine what happens when the banks start buying Bitcoin and there's only 21 million Bitcoin to go around. Like, I'm telling y'all, like, I don't know. I'm just trying to lay it all out there for you. The 43-day government shutdown threw a wrench in this process, obviously. So they weren't able to continue working on this clarity structure bill. And Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, says all the senators I've spoken to are feeling a real sense of urgency to get this done. They've told me it's 90% of the way there. They don't want to be dealing with it in the middle of next year either. Why would Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, be involved in political dealings with the senators and be up there on the Hill talking to people trying to get this passed? Gee, I don't know. Maybe they're working with something called JP Morgan and want to issue stable coins and use their base network and all those other kinds of things. Let me add one more wrinkle to this, just so I'm just painting this picture for you. So Kevin Hassett, just the other day this is Friday. This is actually from Friday, November 21st, last week. So his name's been getting flown around because he apparently is the person that the Orange Man wants to replace Jerome Powell as Fed chair. But also what I heard is, talking to one of my lenders, and he's a very smart dude. I'm going to have him on my other podcast. You probably should tap into that one. He's been on there before on Inside Abode. He was saying Jerome Powell might, when the Fed chair steps down, typically they sunset and they just bounce. But Jerome Powell may step down from the chair, but also then still be involved in some way, shape, or form. So I don't know. That's all speculation. But Kevin Hassett, this is a dude that apparently the Orange Man likes. Pause. And he's a contender to replace Jerome Powell as Federal Reserve Chairman. He previously worked as an advisor for Coinbase. Financial disclosures reveal that he owns Coinbase stock between 1 and 5 million. I mean, I don't know how much more obvious it can get, y'all, but I'm not saying, if you think that these people work above board, I'm not saying that they don't. I'm not saying that they do. I'm just saying I'm looking at all these things and I'm just like, I'm still bullish because they're just setting up the runway and the rails for us to have, in my opinion, a pretty decent 2026. I believe with the clarity structure bill, after the stablecoin bill and all that stuff, once that goes down, and even if we fall into a bear, I just showed you the DCAs, start dollar cost averaging. If we go into a bear, that's actually a good thing. I would not mind that because then I just get Bitcoin for a lower price before everyone else starts going in. So anyway, y'all, that's just what I want to look at. So I talked about Bittensor. I talked about the reasons why I'm bullish on this market. Go ahead and hit that like, man. Hit that like or follow us. If you following this and you watching it, just follow us, man. And happy Thanksgiving. I hope you get something, get some food and get to hang out and chill out for a minute. But we ain't talked about crypto in a long time. What projects am I in? Well, before I go, I know y'all might be asking, well, what should I buy or whatever? I'm not telling you what to buy. I'm not telling you anything. But I'm going to take a look at the market and see what I like. I'm a degenerate, so I'm just going to talk about the basics. Bitcoin, I like Bitcoin. I really like Ethereum. Ethereum really hasn't, to me, moved. Look at it cascaded. It had that little bounce just like Bitcoin. Ethereum, if I look at the monthly, Ethereum hasn't really, it's reached about its all-time high, but it hasn't really broke out yet this run. And so I'm actually looking for Ethereum to make some moves here soon, personally. And with Ethereum making moves, that's bullish for base. That's bullish for Ethereum layer 2s, any Ethereum layer 2s. That's bullish for all those. So I can see Ethereum potentially making a run here into January, December. I feel like December should be a green month because, it's Q4. Having 3 red months in Q4 with all this bullish news happening, and I think it's weird. But if it gets delayed, then great. Then we have another red month and I continue to DCA. So let's see. The price doesn't matter to me. The price action doesn't matter to me because I'm going to be here for a while. So I ain't worried about that. XRP, Solana, I think all will do well. They'll all just, as the tide rises. Actually, Solana just made a move up from 120. Yeah, Solana just made a move. I look at the 24-hour. Yeah, you see there, it dipped all the way down to 120, 25, and now it's up at 140. So Solana also is one of those ones that I was around in January of 24, around this time, January 24, when it just went. I wasn't there on the initial run up, but I was there in January 24 when meme coins were going absolutely bonkers. We were looking at about an $80 Solana. It was probably somewhere around here in this December 23, and meme coins just started going crazy, and you could literally just throw money at anything and it was going up. So I feel like it's just been consolidating and chopping. from that point, and it's ready for liftoff once the whole market decides it wants to take off. Let's see. I don't know all of these because I'm not in them. Cardano, I mean, I sold that at $3 the last bull run. That was a good little come up. But Cardano is a good project. Doge is gonna pump at some point. Anything in the top 20 for the most part, but I like looking at things that are so World Fight Liberty, actually. That's the Orange Man's deal. I just don't see how that loses with the Orange Man, the literal president of the United States, involved with it. So look, this is the official WLFI project backed by Donald J. Trump. If y'all are feeling bad right now, or you're down bad and you don't have a job, or your pockets are not looking right, and you voted for this person, I can tell you right now that he is having a good old time making a lot of money over in this space. Just saying. Where's his meme coin? So that's this first project. Where's his meme coin at? It's been dumping. Right there. Got a meme coin. This dude got 2 projects right here, bro, in the top 100. You can't buy groceries. That's wild, bro. Let's see here. Aerodrome Finance. Aerodrome Finance is the DeFi for Base. So based on the JP Morgan stuff I just talked about, I think Aerodrome could make a move. It's only 1 billion right now. To be the DEX, the decentralized like aggregator for base layer, and JP Morgan's going to be potentially using it. I don't know. Seems like that would be a good play. But yeah, anything up here is going to be, like, just stick with the normal ones. Just buy Bitcoin, man. Don't dabble in all this stuff. Don't be a degenerate like me. Just buy Bitcoin. Was I not showing my screen that whole time? That's crazy. Well, sorry I wasn't showing my screen, y'all. Anyway, that's all I got, man. I might even just cut that part out because I was just over here looking at my screen and not even thought I was showing y'all. All right, y'all have a good Thanksgiving, man. I'll see y'all on the next stream. Peace. Brick by brick.